Romeo. Even though he doesn't show it, he's more of a coward than others, hoping he can lean on the people around him. Everyone, I hope you will all be happy. I will definitely come to see you. Callias silently stared intently at Lilia. With a blushing face, she silently gazed at him. The two of them sat facing each other in silence, and the more Lilia thought about it, the more confused she became. How did things turn out like this? Ever since I came to Duke Hyperion's territory, I've been living a comfortable life. Including Becky, all the maids have taken dedicated care of me. My grandmother, Duchess Lysandra, would smile upon seeing her and say, "Lilia, you're here?" Thanks to my grandfather's introduction, she treats me like her real granddaughter whenever she's lucid. Luckily, while I was in the garden with her, I discovered my grandmother's medicine. One of the ingredients in the recipe was fragrant herb. Lilia looked at the ingredient list, which included fragrant herb 36 out of 99, memory fragment 0 out of 10, old thread 0 out of 1, reminiscence crystal 0 out of 1, and sparkles glittering dust 0 out of 9,999. She was very surprised to see that she had already unconsciously collected 36 of the items. Aunt Atias was staring at us from a distance. I couldn't just pretend not to see her, so when I greeted her, she was like a stray cat on the street, darting away without a sound. It made Lilia feel helpless. Don't be in such a rush. Running in high heels is really not like she hates me. Now the most important thing is to gather the ingredients. There's no way to collect the ingredients that Callias doesn't have. She was in her room, checking the system screen. There are so many more ingredients needed, and just as I thought that, Master, ingredients that haven't been discovered in the stage can be unlocked with crystals. Special ingredients marked in a different color can't be unlocked, but common ingredients can be obtained right away. The screen displayed the list of required ingredients. Fragrant herb 36 out of 99, memory fragment 0 out of 10, old thread 0 out of 1, reminiscence crystal 0 out of 1, and sparkles glittering dust 0 out of 9,999. At the moment, sparkles glittering dust cannot be unlocked in this combination. Crystals are an in-game currency that can be earned by increasing affinity with the alchemists or by completing achievements. Additionally, there was another way to get crystals, which was... Lilia quickly realized the catch: microtransactions. Good news, you can use the in-game currency obtained by increasing affinity with the alchemists. She panicked a little at the suggestion. Is it telling me to spend real money? The alchemy system tried its best to entice her. Worrying will only slow down the crafting process. The little girl avatar happily pointed at the suggestion notification. The crystal box began to glow. Lilia saw it and wondered, why have I been feeling like the alchemy system has developed a consciousness of its own? Is it just my imagination? Even if I wanted to pay, it's not like I have any money. But I need 9,999 pieces of sparkles glittering dust. It's better to try and unlock it as soon as possible, maybe by using the auto search function. I don't know when everything became so pay to win. I need to earn some money. I guess the only way is to sell the alchemy potions, but I don't have any way to sell them. How can I sell these potions without the temple finding out? I guess my only option is to ask grandfather later, though that might cause some minor issues. But I'll just have to slowly prepare for a peaceful life in the future. Except for my relationship with you, Callias. Right now, Lilia sat at the dining table deep in thought. Forget things getting better. Why does it feel like they've gotten even worse? He didn't show anything when grandfather was around, but whenever it was just the two of us, he'd become like this. She ate with a bit of frustration, but this fried chicken is just too good, especially this seasoning. It's amazing. Suddenly, Lilia stared blankly ahead. Does he hate me that much? Does being with me make it so he can't even eat? In the novel, after Elizabeth passed away, Karis was so traumatized that he even lost the ability to speak for a time. Maybe that's why he can't accept that I could be Iris's daughter, even though I do feel for him. But I don't want to spend my whole life being invisible, always having to walk on eggshells around him, so I can only keep my distance. That's what I kept thinking. In the garden, Callias's voice caught her attention. I wanted to have dessert with you, but it ended up like this. Just then, Becky seemed a bit flustered. Sir Callias, I have prepared the dessert you requested. A beautifully presented cake was brought to the table. She thought with extreme worry. Even though I know Sir Callias dislikes Lady Lilia, he's actually letting her eat this dessert. Lilia was also completely bewildered. Why? What's wrong, Becky? Why the serious face? Don't tell me it's poisoned? That can't be it. I know that no matter how much he hates me, he wouldn't stoop to something like that. So, she cut a small piece of the cake and put it in her mouth. Seeing this, Becky cried out in shock. My lady, you don't have to force yourself to eat it. Please spit it out. In contrast to her panic, Lilia praised it. This is really delicious. It's so good. To think a dessert could be this delicious. Meanwhile, Becky was practically frozen watching this. Lilia, on the other hand, took the initiative. She asked Becky, what is this dessert called? I could eat this every day. Callias was very surprised to see this. Hearing Lilia's question, she immediately replied, It's an Amelia. He was suddenly reminded of the past when a woman made a remark. Elizabeth and Callias really do love this dessert, don't they? Callias recalled this and thought, forget children. Even plenty of adults dislike this dish, myself included. She exclaimed cheerfully, the cinnamon sauce inside is truly delicious. He voiced his own opinion. I'm particularly fond of the cinnamon sauce. Callias knew the deep reason behind it, which was precisely why everyone else refused to eat it. Words of praise were heard. You two really have the same taste. Elizabeth stared intently at him and said to Callias, we really are so alike. Callias smiled and looked up. Right, sister? She continued to assert, it's so good. I wish I could eat this every day. Back in the present, he remained silent, as a dazed Becky blurted out, I've prepared some mouthwash for you, my lady. Lilia answered blankly, but I want to eat more. Callias remembered the time he was confronted. This place was prepared for my sister, Elizabeth. It's not a place for the daughter of the evil woman who tormented her to just show up. You filthy rat! How dare you show your face here? Get lost! He was suddenly filled with self-reproach. What in the world have I done? What did I do to a child who was so filthy, scared, and trembling? I was just drowning in my own feelings. Not only did I refuse to help, but I even hurt that child, using my own wretched weakness as an excuse. I abandoned a 10-year-old child, leaving her to face death alone. Callias's hands suddenly clenched into fists. My weakness and foolishness almost cost his sister's daughter her life. He suddenly trembled as he uttered, Lilia, what in the world have I done to you? I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I was wrong. That day, the day I met you, I should have saved you, I should have protected you, even if it meant trading my own life. I am truly, truly sorry. Yes. As the carriage stopped, a servant spoke up. My lord, you've returned. Was this inspection tour a success? Duke Huberian stepped out and replied, yes. The harvest in the domain this year was much better than in previous years, and the wholesale prices also need a slight adjustment. Send the report to Jerome later. He obeyed, replying, yes, my lord. The Duke suddenly remembered and added, also, move the items from the carriage to Lilia's room. I bought a few gifts for Lilia during my inspection tour. The servant quickly replied, as you command. Duke Huberian suddenly grew curious. Where is Lilia? The servant immediately reported back. Lady Lilia is on the balcony. He walked to the balcony, his face immediately darkening at the sight of Callias still sobbing uncontrollably. Lilia became even more frantic seeing this. Duke Huberian, completely bewildered, asked, what is going on here? Why is Callias? Seeing his expression, she stammered an explanation. Grandfather, no, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. Seeing Lilia's panic, he froze as a memory from the past surfaced. Elizabeth, did you make Callias cry again? She hurriedly explained. It's not like that, father. We were just having a little discussion. Callias just started crying on his own. It wasn't my fault. I'm sorry, okay? So Callias, how about a smile for me? Remembering this, he let out a self-mocking laugh. And then, Callias just started laughing maniacally. She was stunned. One moment he was bursting into tears, and now he was laughing like a madman. He kept laughing with no sign of stopping. Then Callias mumbled sorrowfully, I really am such a useless younger brother. Lilia remained silent, recalling the scene. Then she sighed sadly, I should stop letting my mind wander. I need to pull myself together. Is that man sick or something? Suddenly bursting into tears and then laughing out loud. Anyone could see it wasn't normal. Among all the siblings, the one who was closest to Elizabeth was also the one who hated me the most. Lilia recalled his confession. That day, the day I met you, I should have been the one to save you. Suddenly, a noise outside startled her. Is that Becky? The bedroom door opened. Still thinking it was Becky, she said, come in, only to be surprised when she saw it was Callias. She watched as he said hesitantly, I have something to tell you. Can we talk for a little while? A moment later, they were sitting across from each other in her room. She stared at Callias, wondering, did you cry again after you left? Your eyes are completely red. He suddenly flinched, realizing something, then Callias gave a strained laugh. I must look pathetic to you now. No, that's not right. It seems I always end up showing you my worst side. First, let me apologize. That day at my sister's cabin, when I saw you again, I lost my temper with you so suddenly. I'm sorry. If I had been calmer and more rational then, maybe you wouldn't have had to endure so much. Listening to Callias pour his heart out, Lilia suddenly blushed, as he then asked curiously, when you were living in the capital, what must it have been like for you, trying to survive in that place? It couldn't have been easy, right? At the very least, I should have reached out to help you. I clearly could have done something, but I didn't, and I'm truly ashamed of myself. Lilia, please forgive this foolish uncle of yours. She couldn't believe it, and blurted out, you believe me now? I am his daughter, and then she saw Callias lower his head in confirmation. I believe you, and from now on, I will never doubt you again. Then, he suddenly knelt down, and Callias said with utmost sincerity, as family, no matter what happens, I will always be on your side. You Will you allow me to stay by your side? Lilia still couldn't believe it was happening, never imagining a day like this would come. But I always wanted to say, please help me, someone please save me, but I could never say it to anyone. In the imperial capital, nobody needed me. If I just disappeared, everything would be perfect. How could I not have known that? Seeing her reaction, Callias suddenly smiled, and he said gratefully, thank you for fighting to stay alive until now. If I were to lose you too, I would probably never be able to forgive myself for the rest of my life. The fact that you are here is my salvation, Lilia, thank you. Lilia was suddenly overwhelmed by Callias's words, and she abruptly rushed forward. He cried out in disbelief as Callias grew extremely worried. Lilia, are you all right? She couldn't help but exclaim, I didn't realize you were so strong. He froze for a moment after hearing that. Then Callias let out a soft sigh and said nothing, his hand stroking Lilia's head. You've had it so hard all these years, Lilia. A moment later, Callias asked curiously, you want to sell items made by alchemists? What's the reason for that? Lilia was seen explaining awkwardly, well, I need money. He grew even more curious. That's why I'm asking why. It's not like you're short on money, or is there something you particularly want to buy? If there's something you want, don't hesitate to tell me. Just say how much you need and I'll get it for you right away. What is it you want to buy? She thought miserably, this is really so hard to say. To be honest, I want to put money into a game. Can you give me 10 million superlin? How could I possibly ask for that out loud? Earlier, Lilia had exclaimed in disbelief, 10 million superlin, master, to get all the materials to craft the special recipe. According to this world's exchange rate, you need exactly 10 million superlin. After collecting 10 sufficient materials, unlocking the special recipe system, and reaching the required special affection level, you will be able to craft it. To obtain rare materials, you need to unlock the corresponding system. She suddenly felt anxious. So you're saying to craft the item with special materials, I have to collect 10 complete recipes and then unlock the system? The system screen was displaying. Required materials: fragrant herb flower, 36 out of 99. Memory fragment 0 out of 10. Worn thread fragment 0 out of 1. Memory crystal 0 out of 1. Glimmering fire ash 8 out of 9,999. Lilia calculated based on this. To craft Grandma's healing potion, do I have to get all the recipes first? Visiting other regions will unlock new recipes. Please visit other places to collect all 10 recipes. She stared at the screen, thinking, This is completely ridiculous. There are royal checkpoints everywhere, and you want me to travel all over the world. That's completely impossible. Master, if you don't unlock the intimacy level, even if you have all the special ingredients and meet the collection conditions, you still won't get the material, so make sure to collect all the recipes first. Seeing this, Lilia thought in frustration, in the end, isn't this just telling me to hurry up and pay up? After a moment of thought, she replied, I want to accomplish great things when I grow up, so I want to gain all kinds of experience now. Right now, the only things I can sell are items made through alchemy, Lilia said, then paused to think. But that violates the temple's taboos, and with such a flimsy excuse, I doubt anyone would accept it. After hearing her, Callias marveled, thinking about the future so early, how mature. I'll do everything in my power to help you. But Lilia couldn't believe it, thinking this guy really has no limits when it comes to family. Meanwhile, he calmly continued, items crafted by an outstanding alchemist certainly have a market. The problem is how to sell them, so you need to decide if you want to sell to people who are willing to risk their lives to buy them, or dilute the potion's effects and sell them to people who don't know their alchemical products. Either choice will require father's permission, and I'll have a proper talk with him about this. And this is a deposit, please take it for now. This is all I have on me right now, sorry. She stared at the money on the table, completely stunned. This is all you have? It's so much, he said calmly. It's only 500,000 ceiling. Lilia suddenly realized that the way nobles perceive money was indeed a world apart from commoners. Suddenly, Callias reminisced and remarked, my sister was smart and courageous since she was a child, and you might be even more exceptional than she was. But don't push yourself too hard. As long as you discuss things with me, I promise I will give you my full support. Touched by his help, she blushed and replied, thank you, Callias. After they talked for a while, Callias left. Well then, I'll be going now. Let's talk again later. Lilia let out a small hum of acknowledgement. Then, his legs suddenly trembled, and Callias collapsed into a seat, muttering, damn it, this is too cruel. Lilia had recounted what happened in the capital city while crying. For a child to go through, it was just too brutal. Emperor Ledius abandoned Lilia in a deserted tower. After Emperor Perseus reclaimed the throne, he hated Lilia, seeing her as Princess Iris's daughter. But she couldn't find anyone to rely on to prove the secret of her birth, and the result of silently enduring it all was being kicked out of the tower she lived in. And on top of that, this was done by Lilia's own brothers, who are also my nephews, Cedric and Damien. At first, When I learned that Cedric and Damien were still alive, nothing had ever made me happier. It felt like I had a new reason to live. I would protect my nephews in my sister's place. His eyes filled with sorrow. Don't tell our grandparents. They'll be so sad. Then, Callias silently forced himself to stand up, when a voice suddenly caught his attention. Callias, have you spoken with Lilia? Callias frowned and called out, Father, you were right. Lilia is her daughter, there's no mistake. Duke Uparian then said helplessly, You really are slow on the uptake? And you even cried in front of your own niece. How utterly pathetic. He immediately retorted in front of Lilia, Father, you're trying to play the kind grandfather again. Has the sun started rising in the west lately? They say people do things they've never done before, right before they die. Are you dying, Father? Then the two of them glared at each other in annoyance. Then Callias couldn't help but sigh, and he said seriously, Father, you're not planning on telling Emperor Perseus that? Lilia is his daughter, are you? After hearing this, he replied, Lilia is a smart child. She must understand what it means for the Emperor's daughter to go missing. If she could have revealed her true identity back then, she would have surely said so long ago. But in the end, she risked her life to escape the imperial capital. Doesn't Lilia's choice say it all? If Perseus knew the truth, he would definitely find a way to bring her back to the capital, and even if Lilia doesn't want to, I don't want to let him do that. After listening, Callias spoke. That's right. I also want to let Lilia choose for herself. Besides, there's already a new queen and princess in the imperial capital. Duke Huberian suddenly asked curiously, Didn't you just visit the capital recently? He confirmed the information. Never mind the new queen, but the emperor is completely smitten with his daughter, Juliana. He's head over heels for her. Cedric and Damien are the same way. He spoke with a hint of helplessness. I really don't understand why they're like that, although they did say they'd come to the territory for a while. Callias suddenly suggested, Father, please stop them, don't let them come here. The boys aren't mature enough yet if they accidentally run into Lilia. News that Lilia is here will surely reach the Emperor's ears. Duke Huberion was silent for a moment and then said, If that's the case, can't we just have Lilia hide while they're visiting? But he didn't want that to happen. Why should Lilia have to live like a criminal and hide? This is Lilia's home. The position of princess originally belonged to her. Her father's and brother's love was also stolen, and now even in this home, must she endure this kind of treatment? He was very surprised by this reaction. Callias, you've always loved your nephews so much. How could you say such things? You must have learned something. That gentle child must have told Callias things she didn't dare tell me. At this moment, Duke Huberian fell silent, thinking carefully. Yes. After a moment he spoke, Callias, you're right, our family will always be on Lilia's side. No matter what happens, no matter who the opponent is. He was very surprised by the Duke's declaration. Huberian, yes, Father. Meanwhile, a mysterious person spoke. Everything has reached its limit. The activity of demonic beasts everywhere is getting more intense. We don't know when a rampage will occur, although the holy mages and holy knights are trying to suppress them, but we don't know how much longer they can hold out. Inform the 5 empires. The mad dragon is about to awaken. The scene changes to a very peaceful street, but Atticus pointed in one direction. There's a new shop over here. I want to go check it out. So Theseus said cautiously, Lady Lilia, please don't go too far. She reassured him. It's okay. The Callias territory is very safe. Besides, I'm about to marry a merchant. What kind of merchant's wife doesn't even browse the market? She immediately said, He's just marrying into the family. The young lady didn't have to humor her at all. Just then, Aetius smiled. Theseus, I understand. It's just a walk through town in disguise with my niece. It was so much fun. At that moment, she sighed. My lady is certainly more excited today than usual. I want to let my lady enjoy herself freely, but I can't be too careless. Hey, little one, you're not Lady Lilia today, so I guess you'll have to stick close to Lady Aetius all day. Don't leave my side, all right? Lilia smiled and replied, Theseus, I know. The time spent in the Callias territory felt like several years had passed, and now I'm 13 years old. Besides, unlike that night owl, Aunt Aetius is someone I get along with very well. She remembered Aetius telling Lilia apologetically, I want to apologize for my unreasonable behavior before. The truth is, I care about you a lot. It's just that if even I were to revolve around you, then I'm afraid your brother Calus would be the only independent one left. Families can be so troublesome sometimes. After that day, I came to understand that Aunt Aetius was an honest, thoughtful, and very gentle person. She taught me some of the etiquette of the nobility, tutored me very seriously in my studies, and even gave me advice on sales. For the alchemical items she made with her own hands, she offered suggestions as my aunt. I don't agree with this because it's too risky, but your idea of wanting to run your own business is actually very good, isn't it? Many nobles are content with the status quo, focusing only on land ownership and tax revenue, using their status to increase their wealth. The true duty of a noble is to use that wealth to support the people of their territory. But taxes are the trust that the people place in us, entrusting us with a safe today and a brighter future. It cannot be used to satisfy personal greed. Although I haven't asked what you intend to do with the money you earn, you are also a member of the Callias family, Aunt Atias continued to explain. As for the assets in that warehouse, they belong to my brother and my father. Don't you worry, Auntie, just accept it. Lilia let out a small gasp upon hearing that. At that moment she was happily looking around, giving Atias a sincere, appraising look. I think Aunt Atias is a very respectable noble, but, Auntie, to think you'd get addicted to gambling and squander the territory's fortune? Could something like that really happen? Her husband is Almos Galicia, a great merchant who runs his own merchant guild within the Callias territory. But according to the novel, he was so busy with business that he almost never came home. I speculated that the reason Aunt Atias fell into debt and gambling was probably due to the loneliness of not having her husband around, combined with the successive misfortunes that befell the Callias family. But from what I know of her now, she is absolutely not that kind of person. Lilia began to wonder, could it be that because I'm here, the future has changed? If that's really the case, that would be great, but I still can't let my guard down. Yes, according to the next development in the novel, the scene is about to shift to the incredibly luxurious palace. She said to Lilia with great appreciation. Thank you. I had a really wonderful time today. Atias, Becky, thank you both for always being by my side. Becky replied politely, You're being far too formal, my lady. Thesis then laughed and said, No need to thank us. But look over there, there's a strange carriage. Only then did Atias notice. Really? I didn't hear we were having any visitors today, how strange. Seeing this, she fell silent. Lilia was suddenly startled. Who were those people? The white-haired man at the door said, Well then, we'll be on our way. Callias politely replied, You must be tired from your long journey. After hearing that, she added, Of course we had to come visit you. She quickly recognized them as high-ranking officials from the Cruz Church, and sensing trouble, she warned Lilia, Quick, hide behind me! Clerics? Why are they here? Don't tell me they found out I've been using alchemy? But Lilia thought otherwise. No, that's not it. Their target is Callias's uncle, according to the novel. He's the second son of the ducal Huberion family, who fought against the Mad Dragon and achieved great renown upon his return. One day, he suddenly disappeared. After the death of the Mad Dragon, a heretical group emerged, worshipping the Mad Dragon as a god. It's possible that they were the ones who murdered Callias's uncle. She thought carefully. According to the novel's plot, he shouldn't have run into any trouble during his years with the subjugation squad. Lilia mumbled sorrowfully, I've been trying so hard to change the future, but now I'm hoping this one part stays the same. Is it too selfish of me to think that? After the Mad Dragon awakened, the Empire formed a subjugation squad. With the nobility at its core, many people were punished. Hurried footsteps echoed in the hallway. An excited Becky ran up to inform her, My lady, a letter from Sir Callias has arrived. Lilia turned, slightly surprised, and asked, Really? She quickly confirmed it again, yes. Lilia turned to her worriedly and asked, but why are you sweating so much? Did you run all the way here? Only then did she seem to catch her breath and reply, Oh, this sweat. I'm sorry. I just wanted to get this letter to you as quickly as possible. At that, Lilia said thoughtfully, Becky, thank you. Becky held the letter out towards Lilia, sighing, It feels like just yesterday. I remember it so clearly. The day Sir Callias left to defeat the Mad Dragon, you cried your eyes out, my lady, and I couldn't help but cry along with you. Seeing her get choked up, Lilia moved closer to comfort her. Oh, Becky, you're too much. Was I really like that? How long has it been since that day? 6 years. On the battlefield, Callias gripped his sword and spoke, Didn't you say it last time? That you'd be willing to die if you could just go on a date with a woman? Well, here's your chance. As the monster charged, Romeo heard him and furiously yelled, Are you insane? I meant a human woman. As he fell, he could only scramble backward helplessly. A loud scream rang out. In the path of the monster's attack, Callias had appeared, shielding Romeo. He coldly ordered, Get back. Romeo stood up, tilting his head to warn Callias, You shouldn't just recklessly jump in front of a monster either. If you get caught up in it, I'm not saving you. The moment he finished speaking, Romeo flung a magic attack at the monster. It let out a painful shriek, and Callias jumped back a few steps, exclaiming, That was dangerous, Romeo. But he just laughed reassuringly. I had that attack calculated perfectly. At this, Callias could only scratch his head and sigh. Well, as long as it kills the monster, I guess it's fine. Suddenly, Oscar yelled from behind, It's not over yet. This made both of them turn back, confused, as the monster let out another roar. He drew his sword, leaped forward, and with one decisive slash, struck the monster. Fresh blood splattered everywhere, and all that remained was the monster's roar as Oscar himself was drenched in blood. He sheathed his sword and turned to leave, reminding them, Don't let your guard down until the very last second. A bewildered Romeo called out to Oscar's retreating back, then everyone finally headed into the medical tent. Treating such deep wounds was inevitably painful, filled with cries of agony. Oh, it's completely healed. Thanks, Griffith, you're amazing. Griffith gave him a cold look and replied, I'm not as amazing as you say, just get some rest. As soon as he stepped outside, the chatter started up again. The demonic beasts we're seeing now are getting stronger and stronger. That means we're getting very close to the mad dragon's lair. These beasts attack day and night. We have to risk our lives just setting up camp. Living like this for 6 years already, I really hope we can go home soon. Just then, Cedric ran over and slung an arm around his shoulders. He called out, Hey, wipe that gloomy look off your face. This confused Damien, but then Damien stepped forward to explain. No, Cedric's right. I swiped a bottle of wine. Want to have a drink with me? A bewildered Romeo exclaimed. You guys are something else. At that point, Cedric continued to coax him. You gotta recharge your batteries sometimes. Look at this. You'll feel your strength come right back. It was a portrait of Juliana. There he goes again, bragging about the twins. Oscar muttered as he approached. Such a useless coward, won't even step onto the front lines. Cedric and Damien are the sons of Perseus Olaria, the man who killed Leo's father, Dios Olaria, and usurped the throne. The one who killed Leo was likely one of Emperor Perseus's men. Kalis, standing nearby, spoke up. I just really hope this mad dragon subjugation ends soon, so we can find the one who killed you. We definitely will. Everyone looked up at the sky reflectively, and Oscar's eyes filled with a deep sadness. He lowered his head into his hands, vowing to himself, I will kill him with my own hands. After the Mad Dragon Subjugation Squad was formed, 6 years went by. Finally, news reached the Harper Queen territory, and Atias shyly touched her ear, asking, Is it true that Calus is coming home soon? Does that mean the war against the Mad Dragon is over? Lilia quickly confirmed, Yes, he said he'll be back by spring at the latest. Hearing this, the woman laughed. Is that so? And speaking of which, he told you the news first, as always. He's going to be so surprised when he sees you again. The adorable little Lilia from back then has now become such a beautiful young lady. Even the moon goddess herself would be put to shame. She blushed and replied shyly, That's not true, Aunt Atias. The woman sighed, but I still think it's a real shame. Are you really not going to have a coming-of-age ceremony? There would be so many handsome young men wanting to marry you. Lilia tilted her head and replied, It's fine. I don't want to accept a proposal from someone I don't know. Atias let out a long sigh. Oh, it's already hard enough to find someone your father would approve of, and you have to be so pessimistic too? If you're worried about what the vassals are saying, don't be, no matter what they say. You will always be a member of our Harper Queen family. He had lived in the Harper Queen territory for 9 years. Quite a few people had openly opposed it. Lilia sadly remembered being bullied, and the people who tried to intervene. What do you think you're doing to the young lady? Becky rushed to support her, while the boy just stood there glaring. Mother, she's not a real lady, she's a fake! At that moment, Lilia was in so much pain she squeezed her eyes shut. She couldn't help but feel annoyed remembering it. That stupid Chris boy dared to throw sand at me. That made grandfather absolutely furious. But Mr. and Mrs. Chris were good people. Among all the vassals, they were the first to accept me. I didn't want to cause a conflict with them over it. So back then I could only smile and let it go. Even though people weren't too obvious about it, the prejudice against a girl who looked just like Elizabeth never went away. If we really held a banquet, the vassals who don't like me would definitely make things unpleasant and ruin the atmosphere. My family is so good to me, which is why I want to avoid causing any unnecessary trouble. Suddenly she spoke up. If it were my brother, he would be absolutely thrilled. My niece's first ball, and the chance for her first dance, hasn't been snatched up by anyone yet. After laughing, Lilia sank back into her thoughts. She was lost in her thoughts. I'm finally going to see you again, Calus. I hope you weren't badly hurt, and that everyone else is safe too? Then suddenly, Lilia called out, Can you do me a favor? The recovery potion I was selling became famous everywhere by word of mouth. Sales skyrocketed, and soon enough, I'll have saved up the 10 million gold needed to get permission to read the alchemy formulas. Most of that money was held for me by the merchants who helped sell the potions, people who had to avoid the temple's watchful eyes. The potions were selling too well. If the temple hadn't been busy subjugating the berserk dragon, something probably would have happened by now. And so, I used the money I'd saved to unlock all the formulas for everyone to see. I gathered most of the ingredients in the blink of an eye. All this time, I hadn't even left the Harperwind territory, so it was surprising that I could gather them so quickly, getting so many ingredients from a single location. On second thought, it makes sense. This system was a game from the start, so it's only logical that the necessary ingredients would be located all around me. The memory crystal, only one final ingredient left. The memory crystal will probably appear in a place where someone needs the medicine, or somewhere connected to Grandma. I've been thinking about it and searching constantly, but I still haven't been able to find the rest of her memories. Specifically, the ones related to Elizabeth. Could it be in the little cabin? There are still a lot of locked items on the cabin's menu. I've received ingredients based on my surroundings before, so the fact that I still haven't found the memory crystal, probably means I haven't met the special conditions yet. Even without any solid proof, as long as there's a sliver of hope, I'm willing to go investigate it myself, because her life is on the line, and I also have to get it from the novel's male lead, and also retrieve the other half of the holy relic. For that reason, early the next morning, a troubled Duke Huberian asked Lilia, "Are you really planning to leave?" She gently tilted her head and replied, "Yes, grandfather, I need a very important ingredient. You must go to the capital," he said with immense affection, placing a hand on Lilia's shoulder. "I only ask one thing of you." She happily accepted it. "You must come back. I will definitely return. This place is my home." The two of them hugged for a long time, and leaning her head into Duke Huperion's embrace, she affirmed with a blush, "I will definitely find the medicinal herbs for Grandma. Grandpa, while I'm away, you absolutely must stay healthy, okay?" He was also deeply moved. "Lilia, to think of that day when I stopped to ask about the girl who followed me here from the capital, it's truly incredible." Remembering his face, she was moved. That gentleman with such a gentle voice. If I hadn't met him back then, I'm sure I never could have lived such a peaceful life. This time, it's my turn to protect them. When I heard that Armos, Aunt Atticus's husband, would be heading to the capital with the Galicia merchant caravan, I asked her to let me travel with them. Just the thought of returning to the capital scares me a little, but it's all right. The heroes have ended their campaign to subjugate the mad dragon and will soon return to the capital, Olaria. I can meet Callus there again, and then we can return together. If I'm lucky, I might even be able to see all four of the heroes." Lilia lowered her gaze and smiled. Just then, Becky suddenly spoke up. My lady, can I please go with you?" Lilia began hesitantly, "Becky." But Atticus quickly stepped in to reassure her. "Becky, it's okay. If you're worried about there being no one to take care of Lilia on the road, I've already asked my husband to arrange things." "Yes, Lilia, this is your first time traveling with a merchant caravan, so there will surely be some inconveniences, but if anything happens, you must tell your uncle, all right?" Lilia, deeply moved, replied, "Yes, Aunt Atticus." "Thank you. Becky, thank you as well. I'll get a gift for you, so please look forward to it." "Well then, we're off now." The trip to the imperial capital was very smooth. Amos Galicia awkwardly tilted his head and asked, "Lilia, are you uncomfortable in any way?" Lilia got out of the carriage and gently replied to Uncle Almos, "Nothing is inconvenient at all." He also scratched his head in embarrassment. "That's a relief. If I made you endure any hardship, Atticus would have my head. But at first, I had intended to arrange for a woman to look after you, but a small problem occurred midway. I'm very sorry. She suddenly came to me and said she was ill. Besides that, I didn't know what else to do." Hearing this, she didn't feel it was appropriate to press the issue. If you get sick suddenly, it can't be helped. Everyone has taken such good care of me, so it's really fine. How is that woman doing now? I didn't even get a chance to say hello. She doesn't seem to be doing well at all. Amos Galicia's face fell. She probably wants to rest, so she hasn't left her carriage since the start of the trip. She was originally supposed to be the one looking after you, but it ended up turning out like this. Hearing that, Lilia grew concerned. Staying in the carriage for that long will only make her condition worse. Is there anything I can do to help? Perhaps among my medicines. There's something that might help her? At this, he just smiled and declined. Thank you, but it would be bad if you got infected. Regardless, I appreciate your kind heart. We're almost at the imperial capital. We'll find a priest for her once we get there. We just need a skilled cleric to treat her, so don't worry anymore. Compared to her, I'm more worried about you. I can't stay in the imperial capital with you because of guild business. So, how about you take a maid or a knight with you? She stammered in reply. I want to be free to look around on my own. At this, Almos Galicia could only stare blankly. Is that so? I suppose that makes sense, since you're an adult now, but it's still quite a surprise. I didn't think your grandfather would agree to let you go alone like this, especially since he adores you so much. If he loves me that much, why would he do that? Just then, she suddenly lowered her head, wondering if the reason he let her come to the imperial capital alone was because he realized my alchemy was different from an ordinary person's, and he saw that I could create so many medicines. In just one night, he surely had many questions, but he didn't ask a single thing. He knew that if he arranged for guards this time, I would find it inconvenient. Then she looked up and smiled at him. She replied, "He trusts me that much, so I'll be sure to be very careful, so you don't need to worry too much either, Uncle." He suddenly lowered his head in thought, then tilted it and replied, "All right, then I'm counting on you. If anything were to happen to you, I wouldn't be able to face Atticus again." For the past 9 years, Emperor Lidios had enacted a series of policies aimed at cultivating mages. One of these was the establishment of magical transportation circles throughout the Oraria region, shortening a journey that once took a month to just 2 weeks. Lilia remarked to herself as she walked, "The world has changed so much now." The atmosphere around her was incredibly warm and bustling. Looking at everything around her, she couldn't help but feel emotional. I've really finally returned to the imperial capital. Lilia then blended into the slowly moving crowd, looking around as she remarked with feeling, "Come to think of it, it's so lively, isn't it? Could it be because news of the Mad Dragon's subjugation has spread? First things first, I need to find a place to stay. Before long, a welcoming ceremony for the heroes who subjugated the Mad Dragon will be held, and a festival will take place in the area around the Imperial Palace. It will last for a few days, and inside the Imperial Palace, there will be a grand banquet for the heroes that lasts for a whole week. On the last day, I'll sneak into the Oraria Imperial Palace. The final day is when the most people will be moving about. It's just like 9 years ago, when the Royal Palace held a party for Princess Juliana. That's right, if I could sneak out then, I can probably sneak in now. If I succeed, I'll go to Elizabeth's cabin to investigate and confirm whether the final ingredient has appeared. Since I'm already at the Imperial Palace, I should also look into Ruth's whereabouts. It probably won't be that easy though. Even though Vader will be at the banquet, if I act carelessly and the royal family finds out I'm alive, it'll be a huge mess. However, it's been 9 years since I left the royal palace. By now, most of the people in the palace won't recognize me anymore, so surely no one would realize I'm Lilia Olaria, right? Just then, someone suddenly shouted, catching her attention. "Come on everyone, gather round and see. These are the portraits of the heroes from the Mad Dragon subjugation team." It even includes exclusive interviews from a reporter. Lilia was very intrigued by this. She glanced over, thinking, maybe there's some information about Jeter in there? Then she immediately requested, "I'll take one, please." Meanwhile, on the road, Oscar was leading a large horse on foot, announcing they just had to get through the teleportation matrix, and then they would be at the Imperial capital. Behind him, Romeo was riding another horse, shaking his head and complaining. "If I had known, I would have taken it easy and gone with Callus and Griffith by carriage. We rushed back like a bunch of idiots." Suddenly, he spoke up, saying refill is one thing, but Callus, his eyes. He can't ride a horse anymore. This made him lower his head sadly, but right after that, Romeo shouted, "He can totally ride a horse. That guy even rode on the back of a raging dragon to kill it. A horse is basically nothing." It took so long to finally get here, the place from the last day Leo sent a letter. Since that day, it felt like time had stopped for us, but now we have finally set foot here. Oraria, our captain's homeland. We will definitely find out what our captain wrote in the end. A woman named Lilia. It was the day of the triumphant return ceremony in the imperial capital of Oraria. Everyone was excitedly cheering. "The heroes have returned! Thank you all so much. Thank goodness you all returned safely. Long live the Raging Dragon Slayers. Look over here. Was the Raging Dragon really that big? They're so cool." Suddenly, Lilia saw something that stunned her. It turned out her gaze had fallen upon Callius as he approached. Lilia thought blankly to herself, "Callius, my friend, it's been 6 years, but you're still exactly the same. I'm glad you're not hurt." But right after that, she hurriedly put on her hat and looked towards Damien and Cedric, who were fooling around. She quickly recognized the twin princes. The crowd around them cheered excitedly. "You've worked so hard, your highness. Marry me." Lilia was completely speechless, thinking to herself, "Everyone has been fooled by them. They are not at all worthy of you wasting your breath cheering like that. That person over there has a completely different aura from an ordinary person. Could he be the male lead, Lute?" Just then, the person next to her also cried out, "Wow, Lord Lute!" Lilia let out a sigh of relief. "Just as I thought, I wasn't wrong." Lute was currently bowing his head, flustered, and she began to secretly plan in her mind. "Now that I know what he looks like, I have to figure out a way to approach him. The Royal Palace banquet starts tomorrow. There are still 7 days. Suddenly, everything became quiet again, and Lilia kept looking left and right, searching for something. After a moment, she stood still, wondering, why can't I see the other 4 people? Well, that's to be expected. After all, they are royalty, and having just finished the demon subjugation, they must have already returned to their own countries. I only planned on seeing them from afar for a bit. It's a real shame I couldn't. Will I really be able to meet everyone again?" Meanwhile, in a room, Refill was asking Romeo, "Are you really okay with not participating in the triumphant return ceremony? It's a chance to get everyone's attention." Romeo walked in, scratching his head in annoyance, and replied, "Are you kidding? At this point, why bother participating? It's such a pain. You skipped it for the same reason, right?" Revisit leaned over and confirmed, "Yeah, you're right about that. The important thing for us is tomorrow's banquet. Romeo, starting tomorrow, we're counting on you. You have to pry some information out of those Olaria nobles." Romeo asked back, confused. "Aren't you going to do it yourself?" Refill glanced over sadly. "Everyone knows the Holy Emperor has acknowledged my divine power, and as for the Nicia Empire, forget about it. No one is willing to marry their daughter to someone from the temple, so any nobles looking to marry off their daughters will absolutely avoid me. We need to gather information from at least the last 9 years, and we won't get anything out of these young girls. And we can't just tell Oscar to be gentler with people. Kalus's glare will make everyone avoid him anyway. Romeo, you're the only one who can draw them in right now. You're the handsome hero who gave up his right to the throne for his half-brother. The nobles of Olaria, who are looking to marry off their daughters, will definitely not overlook you. Hearing this, Romeo could only sigh and turn away, but he still agreed. I really give up. I'll handle it myself. I've been using detection magic this whole time, you know. By the way, why does it feel like I'm the only one shouldering this mission? Refill smiled and explained, the more capable you are, the more you have to do. That's just the natural order of things. Romeo sighed, completely exasperated. I'll take that as a compliment then. Fine. As long as I can get revenge for Leo, I'm willing to do anything. The victory celebration for defeating the Berserk Dragon, Day 1. Someone spoke up. See? I knew it. Instead of going back to his own country, he'd definitely come to Oraria first. Forgive my forwardness, but is there a particular reason for that? At this, Romeo hesitated slightly. Oh, that? To be honest, I'm very interested in the Oraria Empire. As a child, I lived in the temple for 3 years, along with people from various nations, and hearing so many stories, I couldn't help but let my imagination run wild. The person across from him just watched in silence as he blushed and continued. Even though I'm a mage now, as a child, I dreamed of becoming a knight. I wanted to come to Oraria, home to Londinium, the holy land of knights. I want to see the sights that the 5 legendary knights once gazed upon. The man across from him suddenly burst out laughing. My good sir, you yourself are a living legend now. The man had already realized it in his heart. Yes, it's Romeo Roseberry. Let's see. He's handsome, has a good personality, and even though he renounced his claim to the throne, he's still on good terms with his family. Marrying my daughter to him would create a connection to the Roseberry Empire. Most importantly, he is one of the 4 heroes. Thinking of that, Griffin of Nicia is also a good candidate, but I can't marry my daughter into the temple. He's fundamentally unqualified, despite being of royal blood, and he's famous among mercenaries, but I can't marry my daughter to a blind man. Just then, the man froze. His gaze landed on Oscar, who was standing in a corner. His eyes were as red as a demon's, sending an involuntary shiver down the man's spine. Oscar Herbert is indeed as handsome as a man in a painting, but he's an absolute no. His aura is far too cold. It even makes you wonder if he's a demon. My instincts are screaming that he's dangerous. Just then, Romeo got straight to the point. Sir, do you happen to know someone by the name of Lilia? A friend I met at the temple. Once mentioned that name. I believe she's from the Oraria Empire. The man looked a bit taken aback. Lilia? You mean about that? Just then, someone else approached and answered, Oh, Lilia? Ah, you must be talking about her, the one who left the capital 9 years ago. The daughter of the late royal Princess Iris, Lilia, Princess of the Oralia Empire. Romeo listened and then quietly said, Could you elaborate on that a bit more? The scene shifts to a magnificent, splendid palace, where Romeo stood silently, looking up. Did the princess named Lilia live here? Romeo came up from behind and confirmed, Yeah, that's what I heard. People say she fled the imperial city to avoid a political marriage, even though they searched the entire empire for a long time. They never found her in the end. There's also a theory that the merciful emperor turned a blind eye. But anyway, what is this tower? Calus then pulled off her blindfold to take a look. Seriously? It's so gaudy, only guys like Cedric or Damien would like this. Ack, that hurts. Refill turned to scold her. You idiot, why did you take off your blindfold? Calus snapped back, annoyed. I'm not an idiot. Besides, no matter how much she hated a political marriage, what reason would a 10-year-old kid living comfortably in a place like this have to run away from the imperial city? Romeo lowered his head and hesitated. Well, it's not entirely impossible. Or maybe she was already in love with someone else. Griffith suddenly cut in. I doubt that's it. If that were true, Lilia Olaria would be the heroine of a lover's escape or a tragic romance. If that were the case, the rumors would have spread like a sensational scandal. In short, Lilia Olaria left the imperial city alone, or at least without help from anyone who would have started those kinds of rumors. So, she managed to escape successfully without being discovered during a search? Calus tilted her head, confused. No, that's really weird. How could an ordinary princess pull that off? It's not like she was a spy. But Refill casually spoke up. That's why, to fill in those gaps, they whispered that the emperor granted his blessing and looked the other way. In the end, most of the information is just rumor, Oscar quickly added. What's certain is the fact that Princess Lilia disappeared, and it's likely the emperor is hiding something. The one who benefited most from Leo's death is the current emperor. What if Lilia was also on the current emperor's side? No, Calus quickly replied. On the contrary, while he was thinking that killing Leo had moved him up in the line of succession, Perseus might have returned with his children. Maybe she knew the emperor considered her an obstacle and wanted her assassinated, so she fled, which made everyone instantly fall silent. He scratched his head in confusion. Man, I really don't know anymore. How can we find accurate information on someone who vanished over 9 years ago? Romeo cleared his throat and suggested, since there are still 6 days until the banquet, we should use the time we have left to investigate thoroughly, and we'll also continue to track the magical energy. Oscar looked completely confused. What's he supposed to do if he finds the magical energy but there are no leads? Romeo replied, flustered, we're not tracking the princess, we're tracking the fountain pen. Oscar said, confused. But wasn't the magic stone removed from the fountain pen, making it impossible to track? Romeo explained, that's right, that was the case before. But now that I've absorbed the light dragon's magical energy, I can even track the fountain pen itself. A magic stone was separated, and Callis, probably annoyed after hearing that, yelled, hey, be more certain about it. Refill tilted his head and spoke for him. We couldn't even confirm from the start that Leo's killer still has that fountain pen. What if they threw it away a long time ago, and the fountain pen is gone? The problem is that we don't have any clues, to the point that we have to ask Romeo for help with surveillance. Callis helplessly held his head and sighed, tsk, this won't be solved that easily. And Refill also pointed out another disadvantage, that the Emperor's faction must also continue to investigate. Nobody make any more mistakes, especially you, Callis. Hearing that, he immediately snapped, what? On the third day of the party, celebrating the demon dragon's subjugation, the announcer began his opening speech, presenting Prince Cedric, the first prince of the Oraria Empire, and Prince Damien. And here's the first princess, Juliana. She quickly stepped out in a beautiful dress, and the people around them immediately started chattering. Oh my god, she's so beautiful! She looks just like a fairy, and the two princes are so wonderful too. How is their sibling bond so strong? At that moment, Jeter, standing to one side, was also flustered. Juliana. Suddenly, a voice was heard. By the way, have you heard that story? I'm talking about the 4 heroes who made a name for themselves this time. They came to visit Oraria before returning to their own countries, right? Now that is, wasn't it to meet Princess Juliana? In fact, I heard there are many people like that at the party, who can't forget the captivating presence of Princess Juliana. They say they wanted to see her just one time. Oh my goodness, wow, look over there. It looks like they're attracting some intense stares. 3 men were standing in the distance, staring fixedly in Juliana's direction. Victor was extremely flustered and thought to himself, they're really staring so openly. Did they come here just for her? Just then, the excited chatter started up again. It would be amazing if one of those men said even a single word to me. Suddenly, Juliana called out, startling Victor. Doctor, you're here? He stammered shyly. Juliana, today, you look absolutely beautiful. She laughed in reply. Thank you, you look very handsome today as well. By the way, Victor, you didn't look so good a moment ago. Is something wrong? Victor explained nervously. Ah, that? Those guys are. Juliana looked a little confused. Who are they? He then asked, are those the heroes from the rumors? She immediately confirmed, yes, they are. So Victor sighed and asked, are you interested in them too? Juliana looked at him blankly and thought. Then she suddenly asked, Doctor, why are you so worried about it? And then Victor, blushing furiously, tried to explain. Ah, it's not like that, it's not. Just then, another voice called out, Juliana. The two of them quickly looked toward the source of the sound. Victor was silently fuming. Ugh. Cedric and Damien with Perseus approached them as Perseus asked, what were you talking about? Everyone quickly bowed. Your Majesty. Juliana happily went over and said, Father, we were just talking about the heroes from the subjugation squad. Damien, looking annoyed, said, they came here to meet you. Syrinx also quickly chimed in. They even left their own countries for it. And Perseus then asked, is that so? She blushed in embarrassment and began to speak. That's not going to happen. Cedric pressed on. If they all proposed, who would you marry? Juliana hesitantly turned to answer. I. Her eyes were fixed on Jupiter, but before she could finish, Perseus cut in. I must issue a marriage ban. Both princes exclaimed in unison. I agree, Father. Juliana shyly bowed her head. Honestly, Father? Jeter's gaze also darted around at that moment. Huh, where did all those guys go? Meanwhile, down the hallway, everyone started to hurry. Romeo, did you find it? He quickly confirmed. Yes, I found it. It's even very close. The fountain pen is right here in the capital. The elf girl stopped, smiling faintly as she read the dialogue. Thank you for your help. It's not much, but this is a reward for you. Immediately after, text appeared on the screen. Affinity level max. Lilia joyfully threw her hands up in celebration. Yes, I've reached max affinity with all the residents. It's finally done. Alchemy also quickly appeared to celebrate with her. Master, congratulations. The affinity level of all residents has reached the maximum. The reward is a chance to buy 100,000 crystals, with a special 20% discount. Hearing that, she cursed inwardly. I knew this scammy system would show up. A moment later, Lilia walked to the window and softly conceded. Alright, I'll buy it. I'll just buy it, okay? I have plenty of uses for them anyway. Alchemy immediately started to flatter her. That's our master for you. Right after, a series of notifications and items appeared. All recipes have been acquired for 10 million. Superling, the resident affinity quest system has been unlocked. If you help or craft items, the resident's affinity level will increase, and sometimes you will receive special materials as a thank you. And finally, today, the maximum affinity level has been reached. Lilia, both excited and tired, sighed. That took way too long. There's no game that makes you grind quests like this, and there's definitely no game where the minimum amount you have to pay is in the tens of millions. Whatever. Alchemy ignored her words and cheerfully changed the subject. Congratulations, Master. We will now unlock the special affinity and hidden quest system. Lilia looked at the screen curiously. What? Wait a minute. So all the stuff I've been leveling up until now, wasn't that the special affinity level? Following her question, 2 status lines appeared. The crystal price to receive all recipes is 10 million superling, the currency of this world. Tip: upon receiving all recipes, the special recipe system and special affinity level will be unlocked in order to obtain special materials. You need to unlock this system. Alchemy tilted its head, smiled brightly, and explained, they're completely different. The affinity level is a prerequisite quest. Only then did Lilia let out a sigh. Ah, so, that's how it is. Then, the little girl introduced another offer. To celebrate the opening of the special affinity system, get 50,000 crystals at a 20% discount. Seeing this, Lilia couldn't help but sigh. Isn't this pay-to-win stuff happening a little too often? Then Alchemy continued to ask, Master, to collect 10 materials faster. Should we catch a new dragon? You can expand the nest for 500 crystals. The bait to lure the dragon is 100 crystals. Lilia felt a headache coming on when she heard that. So, that's going to be tough, huh? You mean hesitating will only delay the crafting process, right? The girl quickly replied. The master is truly generous. She could only let out a helpless sigh. Ugh, this sucks. I'm going to go eat now. The allowance is in that necklace too. As she said that, she suddenly blushed, lost in thought. While I'm here, I have to gather materials from the capital too. At that same moment, on a deserted street, a voice rang out. Is it in this inn? First of all, even if we don't know who has it, Leo's fountain pen is definitely in this inn. Then, Kalis suddenly asked in a somber voice, but why would the fountain pen be in a place like this? Romeo, standing next to him, voiced his speculation. This is an inn that nobles often visit. Maybe the one who stole it doesn't have it anymore. But then, Refill stroked his chin in agreement. Could it be that a noble bought the fountain pen from the thief and is staying here? Oscar's cold eyes darkened slightly. He asked softly, is it certain that Leo's killer still has it? There's no other way but to watch and identify the guests coming in and out, to gather information. I have to keep going to the parties. The girl rubbed her head, letting out a frustrated sigh. Am I really getting close to the answer? Do you guys remember the story Leo told when we were back at the temple? How did he know a wolf would show up then? I asked him along with Griffith. He recalled what Lilia had said before. Then, Kalis looked up and recounted in a low voice that he finally answered by saying he'd had a prophetic dream. Come to think of it, he sometimes talked as if he could see the future. At that very moment, her words flooded back into his memory. Are there any factions targeting you? Ah, yeah, there are some people aiming for the throne I'm supposed to inherit, since I'm so weak. I might not be able to join the subjugation team, I could even die before that. So, even if I can't join the Wild Dragon subjugation team, don't be too disappointed. At least you guys have to fight hard and return safely. Kalis gently touched his eye patch as he analyzed. It's clear he predicted the future would turn out this way. That's the name a person like that intentionally rewrote, and Romeo quickly chimed in. Lilia Olaria. We'll have to find a way to track them down. If only we had just one clue. Time passed by, and then one fine day. Lilia gave her shoulders a refreshing roll. She flopped onto her bed with a sigh, but her gaze was still a bit hazy, and thought to herself, I've gotten too used to being cared for. I can't let myself be swayed. It's already the 4th day of the hero's reception. There are 3 days left until the infiltration operation begins. Afterwards, Lilia got out of bed and went to a small mirror on top of a dresser, where she stared blankly at herself. Her mind continued to wander. After breakfast, I'll take a stroll around the capital. Fortunately, the new dragon I acquired this time is a silver dragon, which has the best efficiency for gathering materials. I need to collect as many materials as possible from the capital. A while later, in a small deserted alley, Lilia pulled up her hood and walked through it alone. I heard there's a good brunch spot nearby. The path is pretty complicated and almost no one ever comes this way, so it should be fine to slip out for a bit, right? My shoulders are killing me, probably from being so tense trying not to get caught. With the only clue being a silver-haired girl, no one should recognize me, but it's not good to stand out for no reason. I get now just how protected I was by my family and superior. Suddenly, Lilia gasped. her eyes widening at something. Huh? What the? An allowance, what is this? She stared at the virtual screen in confusion as the alchemist's voice suddenly rang out. Master, 4 special affinity targets are approaching within a 2-meter radius. Lilia was bewildered, not understanding what was happening. What? What the heck is a special affinity target anyway? At the same time, a quest interface appeared. Complete the hidden quest to increase affinity, and you can receive a special recipe as a reward. Lilia broke out in a cold sweat, stammering awkwardly. A hidden quest? And they're approaching right now? The interface appeared again, optimizing user interface for special affinity. Just then, a cold voice called out from behind her, Lilia Olaria. She whipped her head around in alarm. But when she saw the people in front of her, her eyes couldn't help but light up. That cold voice rang out again, questioning her. Was it you? Did you kill my friend? You killed the crown prince and now you expect to live happily? As the only remaining princess? Romeo stared at Lilia, his eyes filled with disgust. You're the one who killed Leo! As soon as he finished, Griffith also glared at her with that same look of disgust. Callus's brows also furrowed tightly, showing his displeasure. Then Oscar finally spoke up. We will never forgive you, Lilia Olaria. Her shimmering silver hair swayed in the air, and Lilia's sapphire blue eyes showed a look of terror. Oscar lowered his head, placing a hand on the hilt of the sword at his hip as he muttered, silver hair and green eyes. At the same time, Griffith summoned his sword. Definitely the royal family of Olaria. I can't believe we found this girl, but her resemblance to Leo is unsettling. Off to the side, Calus cracked his knuckles and called out in a low voice, Lilia Olaria. Romeo raised his scepter. His lifeless eyes stared at her. Answer me, why did you kill Leo? Lilia, her face pale, stammered out, wait. Inside, she was also thrown into confusion by the situation, unable to react. Wait a minute, what is that sound anyway? Besides, these 4 people, could they be? But then she suddenly froze, her eyes widening in bewilderment. Just a second later, she was struck by Oscar on the back of the neck. Lilia couldn't take it and started to lose consciousness, falling down. The last image that appeared before her eyes was Oscar's cruel and cold gaze. After that, Lilia sank into darkness. When she opened her eyes again, she saw a wooden floor. She couldn't help but think to herself, huh? Where am I? Then she swallowed hard, feeling a burning sensation in her throat. Suddenly, a virtual screen appeared before Lilia, displaying a notification, activating user interface UI, dedicated to the special affinity system, developing special affinity system. Note, if the quest is not completed within the time limit, you will be penalized, and the system will be partially altered. Before she could even react, the screen went static. What? A penalty? What is that? Just then, a voice rang out that made Lilia jump. You're awake? As soon as he spoke, the static from the system grew even more intense. Right after that, the familiar interface appeared, leaving her confused. Huh, what is this? I haven't even touched the necklace. Why is the system screen appearing? Lilia, who was tied tightly to a chair, looked up in fear. Her body couldn't help but tremble uncontrollably. The person in front of her questioned her again. Is that your name? Romeo stood there, staring at her with cold eyes. Lilia Olaria? She froze when she heard that, remaining silent. A moment later, Lilia's lips moved slightly as if she wanted to say something, but no words came out as she just silently observed him. So it really wasn't a hallucination, this person is Romeo. At that thought, Lilia's eyes welled up with tears. Suddenly, another voice made her jump again. Are you crying because you don't want to? Then, Refill, who was leaning against the wall with his arms crossed, gave her an unsympathetic look. The only thing you can do now is frankly answer the questions I ask. Lilia immediately recognized him too. Refill. Just as she was becoming more emotional, another voice interjected from Callus, who was standing in another corner, frowning as he removed his blindfold. This name, is this the girl who lived in that luxurious tower? Lilia recognized him as Callus too. Those eyes looked like they were in agony. It must be so painful. It seems his vision hasn't been completely lost. Suddenly, the sharp point of a sword was aimed at Lilia's face, making her flinch in fear. Oscar looked at her without a trace of emotion and threatened. From now on, every time you hesitate to answer a question, I will cut off one of your fingers. I'm only going to warn you once. I'll ask again. Is your name Lilia Olaria? She was silent for a moment before confirming. Yes. Lilia thought to herself, this man has silver hair and red eyes. Could this be Oscar? As Lilia came to this realization, her face grew pale. The Oscar that I once knew? I never thought I'd see the day he'd pull a knife on me. I've missed them so much all this time. Do you all know how badly I wanted to see you? But why in the world are they all giving me such terrifying looks? All of their scary gazes are fixed on me. Oscar questioned in a cold voice. Why? You killed Leo, didn't you? His words made Lilia freeze for 5 seconds. Ah! Her expression darkened as a question mark popped into her head. Killed Leo? Wait a minute. I think I heard that right before I fainted, didn't I? Why in the world would they think that? Okay. Lilia quickly spoke up, trying to explain. Wait, there seems to be some kind of misunderstanding. I didn't kill Leo. Her gaze was sincere and unwavering as she looked at the men in front of her. She also silently confirmed in her heart, how could I possibly have killed Leo? I was only 10 years old at the time. Besides, the Leo they all know is me. How could I have killed myself? But since the magic of the curse still hasn't been broken, I can't say it even if I want to. Suddenly, someone spoke, making Lilia's heart skip a beat. Leo always told us that someone was out to kill him. Then Griff crossed his arms and tilted his head as he looked at her. And the thing that Leo left behind before he died was your name. Romeo immediately followed up. And you also have Leo's fountain pen. You must have left it at the inn, right? Lilia was surprised by this information. How did he know that? Even though I can't use it anymore, I still always carry it with me, because it's a precious connection to my friends. They questioned her again. Did you kill Leo to steal it? Lilia immediately shouted in denial. Absolutely not. But in response, a cold sword was pressed against her neck, the sharp blade unhesitatingly cutting a thin line on Lilia's skin. Oscar approached her, his hand holding the sword not loosening in the slightest. If that's not the case, then try to explain. If you can't explain, you will die. If I answer wrong, I'll die. If I reveal the truth, I'll die from the curse. Lilia fell into a dilemma and squeezed her eyes shut, wondering what on earth she was supposed to do in this situation. After a moment, Lilia had no choice but to let out a breath and calmly explain, first of all, I will tell the truth. The one who poisoned brother Leo was Count Hayter, a close associate of the former Emperor Leos. However, Griffith didn't immediately believe her and asked bluntly, is there anyone who can prove those words? Lilia replied clearly, I heard that the Count was executed by Laius immediately afterward. The current Emperor Perseus reclaimed the throne, and all of Laius's faction would know what happened back then. But Oscar, not lowering his sword, retorted, they were all purged. The result was that there were no witnesses at all. Hearing that, Lilia's expression darkened. If you're going to say that, then your reason for suspecting me now is just as flimsy, based only on a name left behind and the location of the fountain pen. I can't believe the very name left behind in the hope that others would understand has turned around to harm me. From the very beginning, with people who have no intention of believing me, even if I tell the truth, it's useless without proof. If I can't prove I'm not the enemy, they won't listen to anything I say. But how could she prove her relationship with Leo? At that thought, her eyes suddenly lit up. Lilia slowly parted her lips and said, my birthday is the 27th of Celeste. Don't you remember anything, sir? Sir! The man she pointed to repeated in a panic. Don't you remember anything, sir? No, wait a minute. That day was an old memory that suddenly flooded his mind. Happy birthday, Griffith. Back then, he had replied indifferently, that's right, I remember now. Tomorrow is also a birthday. It's for someone important to Leo. But he couldn't remember what Lilia had said back then. Only one phrase echoed in Griffith's mind, someone I've known since I was very little. Oscar also seemed to remember, and his expression changed. The tip of the sword pointed at Lilia slowly lowered. He lowered his head in silence and turned to leave. Lilia nervously wondered to herself, have I made it through the danger? Just then, Romeo spoke up, snapping her out of it. What about the fountain pen? Why do you have it? Lilia gently lifted her bound hands, answering without flinching. Brother Leo gave it to me before he passed away, along with the letters he exchanged with his friends, and the stuffed rabbit too. They are all in my room at the inn. If I were the one who killed brother Leo, then there would be no reason to cherish those mementos like treasure, even after everything Lilia said. But one question still troubled Callus. Why did Leo leave her name in the letter? Hearing that, she tilted her head and chuckled softly. Maybe he wanted to ask you to take care of me, his sister of the Moon family, because I have no one else to rely on but brother Leo. As she spoke, her gaze fell with sadness. Actually, the Leo I knew would just rush over to practice kicking whenever we met, yet here I am, having to lie like this after just meeting everyone again. With this thought, Lilia called out, you're Romeo, Callus, Griffith, and Oscar, right? I heard that back at the temple, you all celebrated my birthday with Leo. I was so happy when I heard that, and at least that feeling is real. I am truly happy because you all celebrated my birthday. It felt like I was being acknowledged as a living person. No matter how cold, hungry, or lonely I was, it was because of my memories with all of you that I was able to live until now. I truly cherish all of you, and I'm so happy that you are all still alive and that we were able to meet again. With nothing more to say, after a moment of silence, Lilia spoke again with a choked voice. Brother Leo told me so many things. That he almost died from a pack of wolves on the mountain, about the doll he received when he left the temple, and about how everyone called him their big bro, about holding identical dolls and talking all night, and that he had 4 childhood friends, who were the most precious people in the world to him. If I had someone I could be honest with, I would say the exact same thing. I didn't kill Leo. Please, will you believe me? A while later in the small town, the girls were all blushing with infatuation as they looked in one direction. Lilia was also feeling awkward as she listened to the person in front of her explain, "We're so ashamed we can't even look you in the eye. We really thought you were the murderer, you know?" In front of her now were those 4 men. A flustered Kalis apologized profusely. "I can't believe you're the sister Leo always cherished. I'm sorry for tying you up without giving you a chance to explain." Lilia replied softly, "It's nothing." Inwardly, however, she was grumbling, "Yeah, right. I seriously thought I was a goner." After that, they bombarded her with questions, and it was only after they checked the mementos in her in-room with their own eyes that they finally believed her, saying that if she had really killed Leo, she wouldn't have treasured those things so much. Just then, Kalis turned to the others and urged them awkwardly, "Come on, hurry up. You guys need to apologize properly too." Romeo paid him no mind and replied listlessly while resting his chin on his hand, "I think the person who caused the misunderstanding is also at fault." Hearing that, he snapped, "This is not the time to say that. Are you a child?" Griffith, who had been silent until now, sighed and spoke up. "I've already treated all of your wounds. You know, your head and your wrists." Hearing him list them, Kalis shouted in frustration, "She only got hurt because of you guys." Treating her was the least you could do, so stop making that grumpy face. "Oscar, out of all of us, you're the one who needs to apologize the most, so don't pretend you can't hear me." Seeing how tense everyone was, Lilia smiled to try and smooth things over. I'm fine now." Inwardly, she was shocked. "This is a surprise. I never expected Kalis to be the first one to apologize. It must be from his experience as a mercenary. Now he's acting like the big brother of the group." Meanwhile, after bickering with the others, Kalis looked over at Lilia. "So what are we supposed to do now? We originally came to Olaria to avenge Leo, but somehow we became the long-dead culprits. I'm just gonna go back to being a mercenary." Romeo immediately turned to look at him. "Are your eyes really okay?" Kalis laughed out loud and replied, "It's making a full recovery, I swear." But even though he said that, Lilia secretly realized something. He's lying. How can an eye burned by the light dragon just get better? I thought he'd changed a lot, but he's still just pretending to be fine. That Kalis. Just then, Griffith closed his eyes and said warily, "I'm going back to my country. I have a mountain of work to do." Hearing this, Lilia wondered in amazement. Work to do? According to the rules, right after slaying the light dragon, Griffith is supposed to cut ties with his family and become the master of the holy sword in the sacred neutral territory. Oscar just said in a low voice, "I'm going back to my country too. I have things to take care of." When Lilia heard that, she seemed to remember something and her face went pale. "Now that you mention it, Oscar, what could have happened to him to make him so cold?" But then she froze when she heard a teasing voice from beside her. "You princes sure are busy." At that moment, she was lost in a memory. My Oscar was like a winter fairy. Where is he gone now? No, this isn't the right time to think about this. If Oscar returns to the Empire, for Harry Potter to be working at a time like this means to kill his own father. At that thought, Lilia couldn't help but gasp. She looked up at Oscar's cold expression, and his blazing red eyes were also watching her intently. Meeting his gaze, Lilia couldn't help but shudder in fear, and then, unable to bear it, she turned her head away. Lilia awkwardly reached up to touch the back of her neck, thinking to herself, "Did I just avoid his gaze? I've never once felt that Oscar's gaze was this terrifying." Suddenly a voice rang out, catching her attention. "So what am I supposed to do now?" Romeo leaned back in his chair boredly and sighed. "There's nothing else for me to do." "So," Romeo scratched his head and replied, "Well, compared to you guys, that's true, even though I'm not inheriting the throne. I still get support from the royal family, so I guess it's only natural I live a carefree life. So what about you now?" Lilia, suddenly being called out, looked up blankly at the 4 pairs of eyes focused on her. What about me?" "Me? Well, that is, I." Kalis didn't let her finish, crossing his arms and muttering, "Well, your life has been pretty rough anyway. Leo died, a rebellion broke out. You were seen as a thorn in the side by the Emperor and the princes. And you were also afraid of a political marriage decree from the Emperor. So you had to flee the capital, right? You really are Leo's little sister, you've got guts." Hearing that, Lilia could only force a laugh, breaking out in a cold sweat internally. I only gave these guys the short version of the story. But looking back, it really was a reckless move. Honestly, I didn't have any other choice but to run away. It's not exactly a lie, but it's not the whole truth either. With that thought, she began to explain. "The truth is, before I fled the capital, I left something behind. I came back to the capital to get it, so I plan to go to the Imperial Palace to find it." "Now," Griffith asked curiously, "how do you plan on getting into the Imperial Palace? I heard you've been missing for a long time." Lilia became flustered. I have to think of something. Using an alchemy potion to knock out the guards, I definitely shouldn't mention that, right? What if the trust I just earned shatters?" At that moment, Callus got curious. The stuff you left behind at that luxurious tower, huh? Lilia exclaimed in surprise. Luxurious? The tower I lived in was really old. It was originally built for stargazing. Suddenly, Romeo spoke up hesitantly. Ah, perhaps the tower you lived in is gone now. After you went missing, they probably rebuilt it into a new tower. Lilia sadly lowered her head, thinking to herself. Ah, of course, but from their perspective, it was just a filthy, dilapidated old tower. Thinking about this, her hands anxiously twisted together. Yes. After a moment, she regained her composure and replied, It's okay. Luckily, the item I'm looking for isn't there. Romeo then suggested, Should we go find it for you? Lilia smiled and refused. No, I have to go myself. Because I have to start the search from Elizabeth's hut. That hut is probably still there, right? For Emperor Perseus. It's a place that holds precious memories. Lilia rubbed her chin in deep thought. The problem is, will the ingredients be there? And my alchemy has been acting up lately. Plus, this information panel keeps popping up in front of me. Suddenly, an excited voice rang out from beside her, startling her. All right then, let's do this, Oscar, Griffith. You two go back to your country and take care of everything. As for you, Romeo, you're coming with me. With that, Callus, whose hand bore the seal, waved it. He threw an arm around Lelia's shoulder and enthusiastically suggested, Let's help the kid out. This action made her face flush bright red as she screamed internally. What the? And twilight fell upon a lonely grave. 4 people, Griffith, Oscar, Romeo and Callus stood in a line before the grave. Well then, let's all meet up here again in a month, Oscar said sadly. A month from now is Leo's birthday, right? Next to him, a notification appeared for -700. Griffith also added, I'll be back by then. He got a deduction of 520. Next, it was Romeo's turn to speak. That might be the last time we all gather together. He was only deducted 200. Callus pulled down one side of his blindfold with his hand and smiled in agreement. Yeah, that's right. After that, everyone will have to live their own separate lives. And yet, a strange question mark appeared next to him. Lilia stood behind them, observing in silence. She furrowed her brow slightly, wondering, what are these numbers? Ever since I fainted and woke up, they just keep appearing. They only show up for these 4 people. At first, all of their likability levels were at the maximum negative, -999, right before Oscar knocked me out. I think I also saw some kind of special likability target notification. Does that mean these 4 are the capture targets? It changed during our conversation just now too, so it must be their likability level towards me. Oscar's is almost the same, Griffith's is drastically negative. Romeo's is probably at the hates my guts level, and Callus's is a question mark. Suddenly, the voice of alchemy rang out. Master. Special UI mode optimization complete. Can be set to not display the special likability numbers. When it turns positive, it will be displayed as a question mark. If you wish to know the exact number, use a crystal or complete a hidden quest. Lilia crossed her arms, looking at the screens that appeared in front of her and pondered, why does this thing even exist? A game system interfering to this extent, and it's even targeting these specific 4 people. Well, worrying about it won't solve anything. There's something more important right now, and that is, as she thought of this, her expression suddenly darkened. Her eyes filled with anxiety. Just then, Callus's gentle voice spoke up. Leo, you can rest in peace. Your precious little sister. We'll protect her in your place. If she's your sister, then she's our sister too. So just leave it to us. I'll even let you call us your big brothers. Go on, try it out. Call me big brother. Seeing how forward he was being, Lilia blushed bright red and stammered, Ah, yes, big brother. The moment she said it, her mind exploded with screams. Ah, I'm the leader of this group. This is so humiliating. Callus, that guy, who gave you permission to be my brother. While Lilia was still drowning in shame, someone spoke up to reassure her. Don't worry, we'll help you get into the Imperial City. But that didn't make her feel any better. That's what I'm most worried about. I've already prepared an alchemy potion to sneak into the Imperial City of Olaria. The original plan was to infiltrate quietly and peacefully. And now Callus wants to get involved. Just trust your big brother, little sis. This made Lilia helplessly wonder, can we really get in quietly and peacefully? As night began to fall, the lights inside the inn started to come on. Romeo tilted his head and asked curiously, What makes you so confident? On what grounds do you plan to bring her in? Hearing this, Callus scratched his head and grinned sheepishly. I'm still working out the details. Romeo looked at his foolish expression and couldn't help but sigh. Good grief, Oscar. Refill, please come back soon. Callus is no help at all. You've got a pretty healthy appetite. Lilia, who was in the middle of eating, froze. Romeo stopped teasing her and asked seriously, Anyway, the only thing that matters is getting into the Imperial City, right? What if someone there recognizes you? Lilia's face turned bright red as she covered her mouth and replied, That should be fine. When I was in the tower, I hardly ever met anyone from the Imperial City. As long as it's not the Emperor, I doubt anyone would recognize me. I see. He seemed relieved to hear that, and took a sip of water. Then let's just go in openly, she asked in surprise. Openly? Romeo confirmed. Yep, but then he suddenly looked up, stared intently at Lilia, and said softly, "You can say you're my fiancé." Her eyes widened in disbelief. What? It said the Emperor won't be attending the final day of the banquet. Callus immediately chimed in excitedly. Romeo, that's brilliant. What a great idea. Attending a banquet with your fiancé is a perfectly normal thing to do, so that's a way to get her in. Meanwhile, Lilia had frozen up, thinking, if it were anyone else, maybe this would work, and the method itself isn't bad, but to go as the fiancé of a prince is way too dangerous. With that thought, she voiced her concern. If I'm a prince's fiancé, everyone will assume I'm a high-ranking noble. If anyone looks into it, I'll be exposed right away. The news could even reach all the way to the Roseberry Empire. Romeo realized his mistake. You're right. Well then, how about we say you're a distant relative? At that, Lilia let out a sigh of relief, replying, a relative should be fine. Even so, she still felt a deep sense of unease. Is this really going to be okay? I was captured before because of a single tiny mistake. It's best to draw as little attention as possible. Just as I thought, going in openly is a bad idea. Maybe I should mention the alchemy potion. But what if they connect it to the incident with Leo's poisoning? In the end, Lilia decided to speak her mind. No matter what, I think it's still better to sneak into the Imperial City. That was my original plan anyway. Callus frowned slightly in protest. What if we get caught? Do you know any swordsmanship or martial arts? She immediately shook her head. No, but I have an alchemical potion, Romeo asked in surprise. An alchemical potion? Lilia explained with a weak smile. Yes, the people who raised me gave it to me for self-defense, to use if I'm in danger while traveling alone. It can make an opponent fall asleep instantly. So after she finished explaining, Callus fell silent. A moment later, he agreed with her. All right, here's the plan. I'll help you, and we'll sneak in together, while Romeo, you go to the banquet. Hearing that, Romeo jumped up and shouted, What? Why do I have to be the one to attend the banquet? Callus immediately explained. Do you even have to ask? If none of us show up, and something happens, they'll suspect we were involved, and then they'll question why you came here before heading back home. Still, Romeo refused to accept it. That makes too much sense, and it's pissing me off. You go instead of me. Callus shot back, I'm not comfortable in banquet halls. Romeo's face darkened as he snapped, like anyone is. You just don't want to go. But then, Callus's voice suddenly grew serious. The bright lights of the banquet hall make my eyes hurt. At that, Romeo finally stopped making a fuss, pouting as he turned his head away. In the end, he reluctantly agreed, fine, I'll take care of the banquet. But Callus, Lilia, don't you dare screw this up. On the final day of the banquet, before the northeast gate of the Imperial City of Olaria, Callus, hiding behind a corner, whispered, Good, just as predicted, there are few guards. We'll enter through this gate. But do we really have to wear these stuffy outfits? Lilia, who was crouching and peeking out, replied, It's in case we have to pretend to be banquet guests. Hearing that, he uttered an ah, I see. For today, I've prepared the alchemical sleeping potion right here in this perfume spray bottle, Lilia thought confidently. Just one puff of this, and even the toughest guard will be out like a light. A moment later, the guards fell asleep. My God, Callus watched this scene unfold in utter disbelief. They're actually sleeping, standing up. That was too easy, Lilia cheered inwardly. Perfect, then, she said with a wide grin. The act like a lost guest, get close, and spray plan was a total success. Callus recalled the scene of Lilia approaching the guards. Excuse me, I'm lost. They hadn't suspected a thing and even offered to help. Oh, that's no good. I'll escort you there. He wondered with skepticism, is the security in this country really all right? Lilia's voice chimed in, this is just what you'd expect from a great nation that's just regained absolute peace. Callus seemed pleased for a moment, but when he saw a guard stir slightly, he urged, Okay, let's go before he wakes up. She quickly complied, Yes, but before they could leave, that same guard suddenly took a step forward. Just then, Callus shouted in alarm, Wait, I think he's waking up. Lilia moved closer to inspect him before turning to announce, No, he's just staggering. Despite that, Callus swiftly threw a punch at the guard. The smile on Lilia's face instantly froze, and her expression darkened in a flash. Crap! He blew it! The guard Callus had punched fell to the ground but still didn't wake up. The air was suddenly filled with an awkward silence. A moment later, Callus blushed in embarrassment and said, Was I overreacting a little? Was I being a bit too loud? Lilia smiled faintly and replied, It seems that way. In her heart, though, it was the opposite. Anyone who heard that knew it wasn't just a little. Then, Lilia tilted her head to reassure Callus. It'll be fine. If we were discovered, soldiers would have swarmed us by now. He then slowly stood up. That's true. Hearing that, She spoke seriously, but there's no guarantee that other patrol guards won't come by. If this scene is discovered, the alchemy potion that just induces a little sleep will be useless. In the worst case scenario, the gate might be closed since we have to go back this way, so we have to avoid that. Hearing her explanation, Sir Callis felt a bit guilty and pointed towards the guard to ask, "So what do we do now? Tie him up and hide him somewhere?" After speaking, he tilted his head to listen to Lelia's plan. "First, Sir Callis, please stay here and keep an eye on the soldier to make sure he doesn't wake up. And if other soldiers come, please keep the exit from being blocked." Hearing this, he gestured awkwardly. "No, wait a minute. You're planning to go alone? That's dangerous." Seeing Callis act like this, she was inwardly annoyed. Going with him would be even more dangerous. Despite that, on the outside she just smiled reassuringly. "It's okay. Even if I get caught, I still have an alchemy potion to make a temporary escape." Callis exclaimed in amazement. "An alchemy potion can do that too?" But Lilia didn't answer him right away, instead smiling faintly as she sized up this Callis fellow. "He doesn't suspect me at all. Anyway, I have to leave Callis here. He's too conspicuous to bring along, and his build is too big." That's why she decided, "Then Sir Callis, you'll wait here, okay?" He didn't try to stop her any further. "Alright, you can count on me, little sis. Let me take off this armor and see if you can wear it. Use it for a disguise." Hearing that, Lilia could only think helplessly, "Stop doing useless things. And who's your little sis?" A while later, a guard holding a lantern walked through the night forest. Lilia hid behind a bush and watched silently. "There are patrol guards here too. This is so nerve-wracking. My heart feels like it's going to jump out of my chest. The party is in full swing, so this area should be less guarded." At that thought, she suddenly fell into a pensive silence. That day, there weren't any problems until I came back from the small house, until I met Yuriana and the twin princes inside the tower. Back then, I hurt Yuriana when she was just a child. Lilia's face filled with guilt. If only that scar weren't there. Thinking back on that day, my mood sank. I felt so ashamed and pained that I wanted to disappear on the spot, but this time I'm not alone. Honestly, I was very happy, but being treated like a little sister was infuriating, and the plan going awry was also very stressful. Callis was on my side, so I felt truly reassured in my heart. To be honest, going back to the palace alone is a little scary. Romeo must be struggling to force a smile at the party right now, huh? I know you don't like places like that. I'm sorry, but I can clearly see the boredom in your eyes. Even so, Lilia clenched her fists with determination. Finally, I've met the friends I've always dreamed of. 1 month later. Until the day we all meet again, if I break the forbidden spell and reveal the truth, things will go back to the way they were before. Suddenly she stopped in her tracks, her eyes furrowing with worry. Huh? She looked at the magnificent tower before her and wondered, could that be the new tower the kids were talking about? Did he go this far just for Yuriana? Whatever. For me now, because I have a home and loved ones to return to, I won't be hurt, just because you people don't love me. The Hooperian family loved me without asking for anything in return, and for their sake, I will complete the alchemical potion and cure her. Meanwhile, elsewhere, snow and wind swirled violently in the air. A heavy voice rang out, the bone-chilling cold, the terrible hunger, simply having to endure and persevere to survive, forcing my eyes to adjust to the darkness, and in the end, seeing things I never wanted to see. Elizabeth stood by the window, silently watching the snow fall. If one has to endure such nights alone, you would be so lonely and miserable. Having said that, she paused for a moment in thought, then opened her palm and murmured softly, "Become the light, Perseus, so that anyone born in this country can see it as a blessing. Shine brilliantly and lead the way. Become a great emperor. I know you can do it. Do not worry, for I will be by your side to help you." Elsewhere, in a dark room, empty wine bottles were scattered across the table. A disheveled Perseus sat in a corner, clutching his head in despair, his face a mask of agony, as cold sweat dripped down relentlessly. Then, he looked up and leaned back, staring at the pitch-black ceiling as he whispered, "So dark," and then he suddenly froze, his eyes vacant and lifeless. But then, he suddenly dropped his gaze to one side. A moment later, a sound made Perseus jolt in surprise. His entire body tensed up instinctively. Outside, a figure appeared, a long platinum braid fluttering gently in the breeze, emerald green eyes wide with shock, and the moment Perseus saw Lilia, he shot up from his chair. "Could it be that you've returned?" Her hands were clasped awkwardly before her chest, her heart in utter turmoil. "No! Why of all days did it have to be today? Is Emperor Perseus really here? I let my guard down, because the lights were off. I thought no one would be here, so I just came in to hide." As this thought flashed through her mind, Lilia instinctively took a step back. Then, as if sensing her intention, Perseus lunged forward and shouted, "Wait, hold on. Don't go, please, just stay with me, Elizabeth." Upon hearing that name, Lilia blurted out in shock, "What?" On a beautiful day at the Grand Mansion, a voice suddenly piped up, I'm not like Mom after all. No, am I not like her at all? Hearing this, Callias turned to look at her. What are you talking about? From your taste in food and your sharp mind to your gentle nature, you're exactly like her. Lilia pouted in protest. That's not what I mean. He saw this and smiled, correcting himself. Ah, I meant your appearance. But you do look alike, if you get rid of any unnecessary preconceptions. Especially your eyes, they're just like hers. Of course, this might be hard to believe, but it's true. Oh, that's right, I have something I want to show you. I wish I had shown you sooner. It's her portrait. You probably won't recognize her, because this was painted after she grew up, but I still think you look so much like her. Lilia looked at the painting, her face flushing with happiness. Is this person my mother? Back in the present, Perseus staggered forward. Elizabeth. But after just a few steps, he suddenly stopped. Lilia glanced at the wine bottles scattered on the floor and thought apprehensively, with all these bottles, it looks like he's completely drunk. So that's why he mistook me for Elizabeth. Lilia's face darkened, and she remained silent. Right after that, she suddenly approached and sprayed something in Perseus's face, and he immediately collapsed onto the floor, unable to resist at all. Lilia looked down at him coldly. It's so frustrating remembering Perseus's reaction just now. Instantly, I blamed myself for holding on to such a vague hope. Lilia rubbed the back of her neck and sighed. Now what do I do? I've done this to the emperor of a nation, wasn't it? A failure from the moment I snuck into the palace? I heard he wasn't attending the party, so why is he here today of all days? Now that it's come to this, there's no other way but to continue, hoping the memory stone will appear. After Lilia pressed search on the virtual screen, a loading bar appeared, and her face unconsciously flushed. Her eyes filled with a mix of anticipation and pleading. Please find it quickly. Suddenly, a faint groan sent a chill down her spine. Perseus, though still unconscious, kept muttering, Elizabeth, please. 3 years have passed since a new prince was born in the Olaria Empire. Marion, Uriana's birth mother and the current empress of the Olaria Empire, the child born between her and the emperor. Her beloved daughter Uriana was also by her side. The two princes had also returned safely after defeating the mad dragon. But why are you still in a dark place like this? Just then, a voice from outside startled Lilia. Your Majesty, I think I just heard a loud noise. Are you all right? May I come in? Forgive me, Your Majesty. I'm coming in. Your Majesty? No, Your Majesty the Emperor. What on earth happened? While the guard was focused on Perseus, Lilia reached out from behind, and immediately after, there was a loud noise that echoed through the forest, attracting the attention of two other guards. What was that sound? It's from the direction of the cabin where His Majesty is. Your Majesty, are you okay? No! How did this happen? Meanwhile, Lilia took the opportunity to escape. She ran desperately, gasping for breath, just a little more. At the same time, the search bar reached 95%, but right before it could finish, it was cancelled for moving out of the target area. Search stopped. Lilia was so frustrated she started to cry, gritting her teeth as she thought, it was really just a little bit more. No, if I had stayed any longer, the guards would have found me, even though I hid until it was fully charged. I don't know when the city gates will close. Escaping is the best option, but still, it was so close. At that moment, outside the city gate, a figure was sitting there, Calus. Still fumbling endlessly with the guard's armor. How on earth do I get this thing off? Are my eyes going blurry? I can't figure it out no matter how I look at it. Suddenly, he looked up in a certain direction. The moment he saw Lilia running toward him, Calus was stunned. Huh? You're here already? Was it a success? She didn't answer his questions, but hurriedly urged him, we have to run. It was a failure, hurry! Calus paused for a moment, then said softly, I understand. As soon as he finished speaking, he reached out and wrapped his arms around Lilia. Calus held her tightly and commanded, hold on tight, I will get you out of here safely. Now, just leave it all to me. Yes. Inside the brightly lit palace, Calus was carrying Lilia toward a chair. He set her down and asked with concern, are you okay? Lilia looked at Calus and replied, yes, thank you. I'm back now. He looked at her and replied, thank you. So what on earth happened? What? Did you confront Emperor Perseus? Is that why you came back in such a hurry? See? It would have been better if I had gone with you, right? She looked at him with a sense of helplessness. If you had, you would have been so shocked you'd have knocked out the Emperor. Do you want to cause an international incident? Calus was suddenly confused. So what exactly were you looking for? Lilia didn't know how to explain. Well, about that, there's this thing I have to do. He didn't press the issue. If you don't want to talk about it, I won't force you. She buried her face in her hands in frustration. Lilia thought with regret, I was so close to finishing the search. What should I do now? I definitely can't sneak in the same way again. Is there no other way now except to pretend to be one of Romeo's relatives to get in? But the Emperor saw me not long ago. So, the risk is very high, although thanks to the hallucinogenic alchemy potion, he can't remember clearly. She sighed and thought, anyway, I'll have to discuss this with Romeo when he gets back. Besides, why has my place? suddenly turned into a secret base like this? He suddenly asked. Find something interesting? Lilia quickly answered. No. Then, her eyes shifted to Kalis. He was standing there awkwardly, frozen in place. An idea sparked in Lilia's mind. Maybe I should check Kalis's affinity level? The number is displayed as a question mark, which means it's positive and hidden. The boss said I need crystals to get an exact reading, and the amount of crystals I have is enough. She then stared at the system window, completely surprised. Would you like to check the affinity level of the special target, Kalis? Warning, since you do not have a confirmation ticket, 1,000 crystals will be consumed. Lilia couldn't help but gasp and say, yes. Hearing that, Kalis asked, what is it? She quickly denied it. No, it's nothing at all. He guessed, was that a hiccup? Lilia forced a laugh and replied, yes, I guess it was. Then she calculated in her head, 1,000 crystals is worth a whopping 1 million superling, and it's just to confirm a bit of affinity. Why is it so expensive? Checking the current status is very important, Master. Lilia thought. Even so, this is a total ripoff. Then please use an affinity confirmation ticket. You can obtain a ticket by completing this hidden quest. The hidden quest becomes available once the target's affinity level becomes positive. Ah, the screen is showing the hidden quest, affinity target. Kalis seems to be troubled. Please help resolve his worries. Quest storyline progress 0%. Accept. Decline. 1 reward item, 1 favorability check ticket, 1 special recipe fragment, 1 level 1 random gift box, 1 pension lottery ticket. She was very surprised by that information. What? That's so many things. I have to know what is what before I can accept or decline. A favorability check ticket, just as the name suggests, is a ticket to check the level of favorability. A special recipe fragment means I have to collect 10 fragments to complete a specific recipe later on. Next is the random gift box, and judging by its level, it probably isn't anything special. I wonder if I will get an ingredient or a recipe from it. And finally, the pension lottery ticket. I can guess what it is from the name, but the main character of this game is both an alchemist and runs a lottery shop. So there's a scratch-off lottery system in the game. Does that mean that system is replicated in this world too? Lilia raised her hand to select, accept, thinking, I don't know, I'll just try it and see. Meanwhile, Kalis asked with concern, are you really okay? You've been staring into space for a while now. She hurriedly reassured him, I'm fine. It's just that, anyway, it looks like according to what Romeo said, I have to return to the imperial capital under the identity of his cousin. He thought it was a good idea. That's right, it would be better that way. I'd feel more relieved, too. Lilia gave a strained smile. I suppose so, she said, and then began to wonder, but I don't know what Kalis's trouble is. How should I ask him? It would be a bit weird to just suddenly ask if something's bothering him, right? In the game, the character would automatically reveal their troubles as soon as I accepted the quest. How do I get him to naturally open up about his worries? Kalis's worries. Of course, his gradually failing eyesight is his biggest worry. If that was something I could solve, I would have done it a long time ago. Besides that, if he has any other worries, Kalis suddenly came over and grabbed Lilia by the shoulders. She was very surprised by his action. Huh? So Lilia asked curiously, hey, is something weighing on your mind? Kalis became flustered and said, huh? I'm sorry. It's just, I feel a little on edge without my sword. She seized on that information and asked, so you feel insecure without your sword? He stood there and began to explain. It's not that I can't fight without it, and I'm not worried about it getting stolen either. After all, no one can lift that sword except for me. It's the sword I received from my master before leaving the Empire. Even though I call him master, he was just an ordinary mercenary, not some swordsmanship instructor hired by the royal family. My master probably just showed me that sword as a joke. In fact, no one had been able to lift that sword for a very long time. Of course, he thought there was no way a kid like me could lift it, and yet, I did. To me, it wasn't heavy at all. Kalis had been utterly surprised back then, and now he's still going on and on. Even so, it's so big that it's cumbersome. Oh, and I also have to attend a lot of parties these days, which is awkward. And also, because he's running around everywhere trying to kill you, I'd stand out too much if I carried it with me. So I left it behind. But if I keep leaving it, the sword will get sulky, and that's what I'm worried about right now. Lilia listened silently as Kalis opened up. If anyone else said their sword would get sulky, I would have wondered if they were sane. But in reality, Kalis's great sword does have a consciousness, so everything Kalis has said so far is true. Because the sword chose its own master, it isn't heavy for Kalis at all. She sat there thinking. The problem is that it's so big that it's inconvenient for it to catch everyone's eye. Then suddenly something caught Lilia's attention. Special interest target. Kalis has confessed his troubles. Find a way to solve his troubles. Through that, she realized that the troubles of Kalis mentioned in the quest were exactly this. Then this can be solved right away. A size adjustment potion. There's definitely an alchemy formula that allows it to change an object's size at will. In a flash, Lilia found it. Found it. But it requires a special ingredient. There's only one. I don't know when I'll get to use it. If I need to, I'll figure it out then. Then she called out to Callus. He was startled and asked, "Huh? Did you just call me brother?" Lilia then kindly said, "I have a potion that can adjust the size of any object you want, if you need it." Callus exclaimed in disbelief. "Really? Give it to me." When Romeo and Griffith summoned their weapons with magic, I was so jealous. Poof poof, she explained the origin and benefits of the item in her hand. I only received one of these, but its effect is permanent. Hearing that, he got excited. Really? That's awesome. But hey, can it be changed back to its original state? Lilia immediately smiled and affirmed, yes. If the user gives the command in their mind, then it will return to its original size. Callus couldn't help but praise. Alchemy is really the best, she said, a little helplessly. You're being too loud. Alchemy is forbidden, Callus, and I think your head is getting a little too big. But Lilia stared at him, thinking, your eyes are sparkling like a child's. Even though you've grown up, you're still the same as before. Callus thought someday she would surely save his world. Yes, I'll bring back those sparkling eyes you used to have. If it's with alchemy, I can definitely do it. She silently resolved. I will definitely bring them back, because to do that, I'll do whatever it takes. Quest complete, receive rewards, reward items, a favorability check ticket, a special formula fragment, a level 1 random gift box, and an alchemy lottery ticket. Callus looked at the small sword in his hand and commanded, grow. It really got bigger. This is amazing. Shrink! Whoa, it's small again. This is so freaking cool. Lilia felt a bit helpless watching this scene. Just how many times is he going to test it? He suddenly asked excitedly. Can I go back to the dorm and get my sword? She confirmed. You can. Ever since he came back with the sword, he's been just like that, like a child with a new toy. I just checked the rewards for solving Callus's problem quest. A favorability confirmation tool reward, a special formula fragment, a level 1 random gift chest, and a lottery ticket. No, none of them are usable, because the next quest is, please raise your special affection for Callus by 10 favorability points. Minor story quest progress, 10%, accept, decline. Because of this quest, I have to raise his favorability anyway. Later I'll have to use the favorability coupon on a one-of-a-kind special formula. There's nothing I can do about it. The random gift box only has a few useless materials inside, which can only be used after the alchemy lottery and some other select shops open. After completing the quest, you can open a shop. Lilia suddenly felt excited. And does the alchemy lottery side quest finally have a companion? This is something new. The situation right now is very complicated. When suddenly a noise from outside startled her and Callus, Romeo pushed the door open and sighed, complaining, I'm back. I'm dead tired. Seeing this, he spoke encouragingly. Romeo, you've worked hard. Just then, he looked inside seriously, and Romeo suddenly asked curiously, did you fail? On the way back to the Imperial City, it was a bit noisy. The Emperor is looking for the second blue-eyed woman, and Lilia was startled and panicked when she heard this news. After the Emperor got drunk, plus with the drug I gave him, I thought he wouldn't remember clearly. He came in and asked, do you know what that means? Now I can't follow the plan that I proposed. If we bring the silver-haired, blue-eyed girl into the Imperial Palace, the Emperor will definitely take her in, even if I lie and say she's my relative. I can't bring you into the Imperial City right now either. She panicked, not knowing what to do anymore. What am I supposed to do now? We can't sneak in like we did yesterday. Isn't there another way? Then Callus suddenly grew curious about the situation. So what now? This girl is still stubbornly insisting she has to go get it herself, not even telling us what we've lost. If she can't get into the palace, then there's no other way. Just then, Romeo cut in. There is a way. Didn't I already say it? We just can't follow the original plan. We just need to turn Lilia Olaria into a man. Hearing this suggestion, Lilia let out a surprised gasp. The scene changes to the palace as a voice rings out. Empress Juliana, have you heard? Sir Roseberry and Sir Aska, 2 of the 4 heroes of the Mad Dragon Slaying Squad, have decided to stay for a few more days in the Imperial City of Olaria. Juliana calmly spoke. I've already heard from my brother. The maid beside her did her best to curry favor. They're surely staying here because they want to get a little closer to you. She couldn't help but laugh. Why do you sound exactly like my brother? The maid said flatteringly. I'm not kidding. Today's party is to find a fiancé for you. Juliana now smiled with satisfaction and joy. In the end, even father gave in to mother's stubbornness. My mother is also very enthusiastic about finding me a fiancé. The maid quickly chimed in with praise. That's only natural. This is all for your happiness. After hearing that, she said confidently, of course I know. As she finished speaking, Juliana thought to herself, I wonder what Roseberry and Aska look like. I remember they had blonde and black hair. I should have gotten a better look then. I wish they both actually like me. She suddenly felt annoyed. It's all Jeter's fault for not actively pursuing me, even though I could have made the first move. Back then, Damien and Cedric had remarked, It's really not a good look. My brothers detest women who take the initiative in love. I was afraid Jason would hate me if I was too proactive. But at that time, Joker insisted. I need a doctor, so I couldn't actively chase after him either. In love, playing it cool is very important. If the heroes who save the world fall for me, Joker will get worried, right? Juliana schemed to herself, today I have to check out the other men at the party. To make the doctor jealous, the maid told me that a relative of Mr. Rose was also staying in the city. She was surprised to hear that and asked, oh really? Will that person be attending the banquet too? The scene shifts to the banquet. Once everyone is gathered, Romeo suddenly asks, didn't your guest come with you? Romeo then starts to explain that he was probably tired from traveling and said he wasn't feeling well. I confirmed he was asleep before I came out, and then he proactively offered, when the banquet ends, I'll send a doctor. He hurriedly refused. There's no need, he'll be fine after a good night's sleep. Don't worry, and thank you for your concern, Your Majesty. Mariana stared at Romeo and asked curiously, Mr. Romeo, are you seeing anyone? However, Perseus immediately turned to chide Mariana. She casually replied, what, is it a crime to ask a simple question? He saw this and let out a laugh. To be honest, I have a fiancé back home. Mariana sounded a little regretful. Oh my, is that right? That girl is so lucky, Romeo responded politely. I'm honored that you think so. At that moment, he spoke up. Well then, please enjoy the banquet. The other man quickly replied, thank you again. During the party, Perseus is seen greeting guests, and Romeo suddenly asked, what's wrong with you? He could see that the other man was annoyed. Everyone is staring at me. Are you trying to get me in trouble? Hearing this, he glanced around and saw everyone whispering, especially Jason, who was shooting daggers at them, while Cedric and Damien also glared unhappily at Kalis and Romeo. He couldn't help but exclaim, Kalis, you're pretty amazing. You've managed to attract the attention of all the men. At the dinner party, your popularity is just exploding. Kalis growled angrily. Is now the time to be joking? Romeo said helplessly. There's nothing to be done, the star of tonight's show. Just then, Juliana appeared in the banquet hall. He looked at her and pointed out, she's looking at you with such longing eyes. Are you interested? But he paid that no mind. Why would I be? She's only interested in my cursed eye color. How disgusting. Hearing this, Romeo carefully warned him, suck it up. Kalis, knowing his behavior had crossed a line, replied, I know. He gave a faint, helpless smile, wondering if the guy could handle it. Meanwhile, at the house in the suburbs, the room inside was empty, with no one in sight. Search complete. A special material has been found. Memory crystal. Special material collection complete. The achievement reward is 100,000 crystals with a 20% discount. He couldn't help but laugh at the sight, so it really was here. Now then, time to start conquering the main character. Thank you for watching today's video. Our story is still ongoing with many exciting developments ahead, so don't forget to hit like and subscribe to our channel to support us and make sure you don't miss the latest chapters. We hope you have a relaxing and fun time, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.